Welcome to my official casting of the Crescent City series. 3 things you need to know before we get started. 1, there's going to be spoilers for almost the whole series. Let me check. Yeah, there's going to be spoilers for all 3 books. 2nd, I'm going to be casting as if I'm the actual casting director, which means fairly realistic. And I'm going to be casting actors, not singers and influencers. And last but not least, I'm going to be casting age-appropriate people, which means I'm not going to be casting 40-year-olds to play 25-year-olds. People, get your act together. First off, we have our Crescent City ladies, and we're going to start off with Bryce Quinlan, our main female character. Now hear me out, there are so many different directions I could go with Bryce, and obviously since she's the main character, it's really important that she's absolutely perfect. I'll be honest, right now it was very easy for me to cast Aelin and Farah, but for some reason it is really hard for me to cast Bryce, but I did end up going with Nicola Coughlan. Hear me out, SJM emphasizes so much how curvy and sassy and just larger than life Bryce Quinlan is, and I feel like Nicola really characterizes that. I don't know, just something about her really says Bryce for me. If you have other Bryce suggestions though, I'm definitely open to hearing them. I'm not ready to die on this one, but of all the actresses in existence that I know, Nicola makes the most sense. Then next, of course, is Danica, and I went with Sydney Sweeney. I think she would make a phenomenal Danica. And guys, just wait till you see who I've casted is Danica's mother, Sabine. Next is Fury, and I warned you guys ahead of time. If you saw my Throne of Glass or my ACOTAR casting videos, I said she was going to be in all 3. For Fury, I am going with Ariana Greenblatt. She just has that intensity. She makes me afraid, but also very intrigued at the same time. Which gets me to Juniper, and tell me you do not look at Lola Tong and think Fawn. Now we're going to jump to my personal favorite character in the entire series, and that is Lydia, aka Day. And I've put Florence Pugh. I'm specifically thinking of some of her Marvel roles because she kind of has that like essence or vibe about her, but to me, she is my Lydia. Now for Hypaxia, and this I will die on. This, you cannot convince me there is a better Hypaxia out there than Simone Ashley. She just... it's perfect. You literally cannot convince me that there's someone else out there who could play the role better. Now let's jump to our Crescent City boys. And I know there are a lot that I'm leaving out, but let me tell you right now, if I actually casted every single Crescent City character, which by the way, there are about 2,000 of them, we'd be here for hours. For Hunt Athalar, I was honestly really stumped until I watched a movie on Netflix with my husband last month called Rebel Moon. Excuse me, Staz Nair? That's Hunt Athalar right there. Perfect. Exactly how I imagined him, frankly. Now for my favorite Crescent City male, which kind of goes along with the Lydia nonsense, is Rune Danon. Now here, I'm actually extremely picky about who I have to play Rune Danon, which is why it's really funny the actor that I chose to play him. You probably know him from his work in Twilight when he was about 12 years old. But have you seen Boo Boo Stewart recently? I don't know about you, but he looks like Rune Danon to me. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm the only one there. When I first saw it, I was like, no, not Boo Boo. But then I couldn't unsee Boo Boo once I saw Boo Boo as Rune, so I did that to myself. For Baxian Argos, I put Jordan Calloway, and let me tell you guys, this was the only picture I could find of him with a shirt on. You would be surprised how hard it was to find a picture of this man with a shirt on. Another reason why I think he would make a great Baxian. Oh, also, I forgot, I need to be showing our couples. Here's Bryce and Hunt together. Beautiful. Here's Lydia and Rune together. Also beautiful. And here's Danica and Baxian together. All right, now let's move on to Ithan. I was really stuck, and I was like, I know there's so many good options out there, but nothing's really clicking. Like, nothing's immediately coming to mind. And I try to stick with my intuition in what I imagined while I was reading instead of being influenced a little too much by social media. So instead of looking up Ithan fan cast, what I did was I looked up frat boy actors. And I saw Rudy Pankow, and I was like, that's my Ithan. I know there's going to be a lot of people who criticize me calling him Ithan and not Ethan. If it was meant to be Ethan, she'd spell it with an E. But she spells it with an I. I know that's not as pretty sounding as Ethan, but to me, Ithan makes sense. I apologize. And then for Therian Kidos. Ithan makes a lot of really dumb decisions, but somehow Therian just seems to one-up him at every single turn. I cast Daniel Sharman. No specific reason. Just look at him. That's a merman right there. If I had to picture a man who looks like they could secretly be a mermaid by night, I'd pick this guy. And now onto our villains. And honestly, villains are some of my favorite to cast. We're actually going to start with Regulus, the worst of them all. I actually went with Timothée Chalamet, and tell me that didn't come to your mind when you read his description. And now for Sabine, aka Sydney Sweeney's mother. This actually really threw me because I hadn't thought about this till I was actually casting. For some reason, I really struggle with the concept that a supernatural person, even if they're like 500 years old and they look 25, their parent, who may be 800 years old, might only look 30 or 35. Like, to me, that's something that I still struggle to wrap my head around. So when I was first casting Sabine, I was casting like older women. And then it occurred to me, Sabine is also supernatural, and she also took the drop, probably in her 20s and 30s. So Sabine is probably gonna look more like Danica's older sister than her actual mother. I don't know. Am I the only one? Please let me know if I'm not the only one who struggles with that concept. I went with Margot Robbie. I feel like if you look at them next to each other, you can kind of see that resemblance, like in a couple of their features here and there. And I feel like Margot Robbie would be really fun to see kind of play like that psycho. Next for Pollux, and this is simply just because he's who imagined when I first read the book, and I could never not picture it, but that's Austin Butler. Like, he just looks like how I imagined Pollux to be. I feel like he has the looks of a villain. I feel like whenever I cast someone as a villain, it sounds like I'm insulting them. I'm really not. Like, I'm not casting people in any of the Sarah J. Maas universe that I do not hold in the most utmost respect in the acting industry, because I'm trusting them with my baby. And I trust Austin to make me hate him well. And then, as always, I do have some bonus characters. First is Jessica, and honestly, all I can think about is Anya Taylor-Joy. I just feel like she has that look about her where you love her, but she also kind of scares you. And she really just has such an ethereal look about her, and I love it. Now, this next one is actually one of the very few SJM names where I actually have no pronunciation for the name in my brain, so bear with me. Ariadne? I have her cast as Taylor Russell. She's just stunning. She has this very ethereal look about her where she's kind of this mix of soft but also kind of menacing. She does remind me of like a young Angelina Jolie, like absolutely stunning but also like very defined. Now, next is Lahaba, and this is actually one where I looked at what other people were fan casting Lahaba as because I couldn't remember any sort of physical description of her other than the fact that she was literally like made of fire. But thankfully, looking at all the fan casts, I saw that, you know, there was not any definite descriptors. It was just a personality thing. But when I was looking at all of the different castings for Lahaba, I realized that I had a very different reading experience than a lot of people apparently. Because listen, when I think of Lahaba, I think of Claudia Jessie. I saw nothing even remotely close to that kind of casting when I was looking at what the popular fan casts were for Lahaba. Look, if you're deeply offended by my Lahaba choices, I apologize in advance. But if you agree, like if we're on the same level, if we're vibing with each other, please let me know, because I do need validation that that's not like just me. And that's actually all the characters I'm going to be casting for Crescent City. Obviously, like all my other casting videos, if you leave enough name in the comments, I might make a part 2. But as for right now, this is good for me. So just hit subscribe if you want to be notified when my next video comes out, or in the meantime, you can watch my playlist of everything Sarah J. Maas related.